All right, can we move on and talk about Oscar Pistorius? Because to me, that is a huge, huge international story. Oscar Pistorius, one of the greatest falls in sports, of a great story, a very endearing story, a heartwarming story about somebody who overcame the odds. And I guess you probably couldn't find one of the biggest tragic falls in sports history. You can go with O.J. Simpson, but that was a completely... This is not O.J. Simpson, but basically we're talking about murder. And the fall of Oscar Pistorius, to me, is it's quite significant.
Absolutely, and I think that the real tragedy here is that if legal experts are correct, he could wind up only serving 10 months in prison for the murder of the poor girl Steenkamp there. Now, that's mind-boggling to me that he could get off that lightly. I mean, I don't buy for a second that he thought it was an intruder. All the evidence seems to point that it was a cold-blooded murder.
Where are we going now?
We're talking about Oscar Pistorius. Oscar Pistorius and the fact that...
South Africa. Good, yeah that's right. He was, I mean, whether you buy the story or not, he was not proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So there was a reasonable doubt. His lawyers were good at it, right? Yeah, and that's why he got O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, exactly.
Very same thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's not, because O.J. Simpson got off scot-free. This guy actually got sent to prison. Okay.
Yeah, for 10 months, can you imagine? Slaughtering a beautiful young woman. 10 months.
Murder is murder. Murder is murder, and if he, but there was a reasonable doubt that he could have been telling the truth. I've been following the story about this lady in an upscale area. I believe it's in New York. She got on the phone with her young 4-year-old daughter on the couch, saying that an intruder came in, hit her in the head with a hammer, and shot her husband to death. And she basically shot her husband, hit herself in the face with a hammer, but I imagine if she's going to get a good lawyer,
Daughter, Frank.
they're going to change some things around. But the police are pretty smart.
She hit herself in the head with a hammer.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The story was that there was an intruder. She's a little stupid because it's a gated community. There's cameras everywhere, and the police could not find. They went through the cameras over and over. There was only one person who was a little paper boy delivering newspapers, and it did not show him with a hammer or a shotgun going in to the home.
Unbelievable that somebody would actually try and do something like that.
But the point. The reason I brought that up is here's a guy who has a plausible story, very plausible. He was in bed. He heard noise. He thought it was somebody. It's just, whether you guys believe it or not, it's plausible. But it's not plausible that somebody came in, hit her in the head with a hammer. Now, the expert was saying she was hit on the left side, which is she's right-handed, and if somebody's going to inflict thing on themselves, they would hit themselves on the left side, not at the right side. You know what I'm saying?
With a hammer, yeah.
With the hammer, right? Yeah. So, and she didn't have a concussion. Anyways, if you would have heard the 911 call, you would say this is a great actress from a movie. The crying, the screaming, the thing, and then she changed the story when the cops, interrogated her that her husband committed suicide, and they were fighting.
Very.
That's how she got hit. So
very strange behavior. Very strange indeed.
Well, for money, the power of money, right?
Yeah.
She's going to go to jail for the rest of her life, and that's it.
And again, we're looking at the situation here where Oscar Pistorius may be set free after 10 months. I think it's going to be very interesting to see at the end of the day whether the judge, who basically did say by reasonable doubt, because the judge was the one that was making the decision, whether the judge would actually...
Culpable homicide was the
verdict. Whether the judge would agree to let him go scot-free after 10 months. And I think it's... Because you're not dealing with a jury, you're dealing with one individual.
Yeah, but there's also support for him.
Of course there's going to be support for him.
No, but there's huge support for this athlete.
Because he's a double amputee? Because of that? If it's just because of that...
I don't know if it's because he's a double amputee. I really don't know the reasoning or the logic, the rationale, but there's huge support for him. And I don't know in South Africa if the judges get elected or appointed. So if
usually there's a voice of the people, voice of God. Usually some judges, I'm generalizing, that are elected officials, that are elected judges, really watch what they do based on the favoritism or the mood of the people, or they won't get elected again. It's not like here, you're appointed.
Whatever happens here, the reality is an innocent woman was slaughtered. Now, whether
But that's your opinion. You don't know that for a fact. That's what you've deduced with the information that you've.
A woman died. I said she's innocent. If she was guilty, she's guilty. A woman has died.
Deduced, right? She's died, but you don't know if he actually intended to murder her.
I'm just saying whether he intended to or not, she's dead.
result's the
okay,
same,
that's just
yeah.
strictly.
Yeah, but there is a possibility that his story is true. It's not that. I've heard far more far-fetched stories than that. So there's a possibility that a story could be true. Could there not be a possibility?
There's a possibility because that's what the judge says.
Probability?
Culpable homicide.
Culpable
Right? That's what the
homicide.
judge said.
Yeah.
The judge said there's doubts, culpable homicide, but at the same time, like I said, the reality is a woman has died.
Yeah, so he's going to get.
And he shot her, 4 or 5 times, whatever it was.
And you made a valid point, Perry. O.J. Simpson got off scot-free, and bad karma is bad karma. In Vegas, he acted like a moron, and he got 10 years.
Yeah, I guess he
And
thought
the irony is, they wanted the plea bargain with him, and he would have got a year. 1 year if he would have taken the plea bargain.
Well, I guess he thought he got away with it once, he'd get away with it twice, and now
Exactly.
that's not true.